Yes, one and all, we are underground again, and this time we'll be using Vanguard Stories as a convenient locale and backdrop for some battery unveiling, and further evidence that I do not have a future as a filmmaking continuity consultant. My plan is to show you a large lithium battery that I was sent by GoKWh, or at least I guess that's how they wish to be known, and to do an introductory test with it. I will, as you'll have guessed, have a discount code for you later in the episode, which gives away the fact that I do not think it's a lump of...
Ow! Alan!
Establishing shots complete, so here we are. It was sent directly from source, China, in a cardboard box, so we're sticking with convention for now. They even included some good foam packing, which as a veteran recipient of many batteries is actually worth noting. It did take a long time to arrive though, and slow time to shipment has been a complaint I've seen from others. Perhaps they don't hold sufficient stock. This one is from their Lithium Iron Phosphate range, and I'll mention something about their other range at the end that may interest cold weather people. Most of you will know that this lithium chemistry is popular, as it provides a good compromise between the better energy density of lithium iron, so these are a little bit larger and heavier, but without the lithium iron or lithium polymers reputation for being less safe. Lithium iron phosphate batteries have a more inherently stable design and contents, and so burst into flames less often. GoKWh have a more extensive 12-volt range, which is of course the most commonly used low-voltage DC power source, but I asked for the 24 volts because I'm obtuse, and more volts mean fewer amps, and that means narrower gauge wires can be used in any given circuit. They've also come out with a smaller and more expensive smart version of this 100 amp hour battery, and do also have rack-mounted batteries at double this rated voltage. This one is not very heavy, which those of you more familiar with lead-acid batteries will enjoy, under 20 kilos in fact. First impressions of the build are good. Simple design, no obvious corners being cut on the plastic enclosure's quality, and with good quality sealed screw terminals. They claim IP65 water and dust protection, although wet terminals or water puddles don't sound wise to me. I'm not doing a destructive breakdown of this unit, but some other reviews online have done so. What I've noticed is improvement over time. They've evidently been responding to criticisms like the packing foam, which has changed from rubbish soft foam to high density packing, and also properly torqued bolts to avoid dangerous high resistance hotspots. Right, so I'm going to bring the battery over here, plug it down, and what we're going to do is test this pretty impressive 100 amp hour 24 volt, nominal 24 volts, it actually says 25.6 volts of course because it's lithium iron phosphate. I'm going to give this a run, not a breakdown or dismantling it or anything like that, because that's probably better for someone who has multiples of these. I want to keep this one intact, but I'm going to obviously go through its performance through discharge, through charging, and then give you a general sense of its build quality and about how confident I would be using this seriously. As Real Alex just said, I'm going to do a basic non-quantitative charge and discharge test. Again, there's no point going over other people's good work, and I'm a system designer and user, not a battery tester. I have a charger, unsurprisingly another one of the famous expensive blue boxes, and also a 3 kilowatt inverter for the power test. I took the components off the steel trolleys, which whilst excellent for self-storage gubbins, would be about as dangerous as dousing the whole lot in seawater before the test. I rigged up the charger with short, wide-gauge wires, and then realised I had completely forgotten that, unlike some Victron devices, this one cannot charge both 12-volt and 24-volt batteries, only 12 volts. No problem, it's a smart charger, and immediately told me via LED lights in the app that the recipient's battery voltage was way out of range, and to stop. I did as I was told, and fetched an actual 12 and 24-volt charger, although this one can only chuck out 30 amps, not 50 amps like the expensive blue box. Anyhow, this is a mock-up of the charging plan, and we'd rely on clips and not on ring terminals, sadly. I took all the bits and pieces somewhere else, somewhere where I pay the electricity bill, not the good people at Vanguard. Ethics, I think they call it. I tapped through the basic menus and set us up for 24 volts, the correct battery chemistry, as of course target voltages and charging patterns vary, and then the fastest current possible. I noticed even with the charger's cooling fans cycling on and off, so they couldn't have been that stressed. I was only being given about 24 amps, and I'm not sure which device was making this decision. My guess is the charger, as I don't think the battery BMS like this one can limit current acceptance. It can only cancel the charge circuit totally if there's way too much current flowing. The manufacturer does list the various protections, although another reviewer said that some of the parameters may be not set as conservative as he'd like. Full battery, and hooray for terrible narrative continuity. You can see another object has arrived. The obvious way to test at high current discharge, if you don't have a clever testing rig, which I don't, is to use a heater. The inverter comes with paired wires to handle the current, which confused me a little at the beginning, but I have seen it done elsewhere, and it can help keep the wiring flexible for routing around things. The LCD screen hasn't had a great response from others and is apparently only connected to the battery terminals, which for a flat discharge curve like you get with this chemistry isn't at all accurate. All the excitement happens within a very narrow voltage range. Also, the visibility of the numbers isn't great when you're looking from an angle. I've noticed some of the smart models have much better power gauges and don't just rely on unsophisticated voltage measurement, even though this basic one does have different modes to theoretically help match your battery type. I'd done a fair amount of other testing since the full charge, hence the drop, although it had even before any use settled to a little bit below 100% after the normal post-charging rest time. 26.2 volts, which it says is 70%, although charts I consulted suggest that this voltage is more like 60 to 70 or even below 60%. We are now wired to the inverter, and a full 0.1 volt drop only registers as 1% less, when charts agree that this is now definitely at least 10% less. So no great fan of the display, especially as the inverter measures another 0.1 volts less, which may seem nothing, but I mentioned how flat the discharge curve is. There's no load and cables are short, so a voltage drop shouldn't be the cause. It's more likely just that consumer quality components aren't perfectly accurate. System says OK, and that leaves only the anticipated output at 240 volts AC. Let's have some action. Inverter on. And then the heater onto full power at 2 kilowatts. Some of these heaters are not soft start, and I've had some inverters trip their fuses when devices have drawn a lot more power at startup, but perhaps I could have gone for something nearer the inverter's capacity. Still, this is asking for more than 80 amps from the battery, when the specs say to keep it under 100 amps. Under load, the battery is reporting a little over 25 volts, which if the battery were resting, would be about 15% capacity. It shows 59%, so there must be some sort of meter compensation and not merely dumb voltage reporting. I tried to keep the cables as short as practical once again, and here's what the inverter was reporting. A volt lower than the battery measured, and at high current this is probably due to voltage drop. They agree roughly on the capacity though, and this is also confirmed that at the output end, the heater is well within the capacity of the inverter. So this is a surface level introduction to the GoKWh range, and perhaps the only one about the 24 volt unit, as other reviewers have preferred the 12 volt ones. This is not a top of the range premium battery, but for a direct from China battery at a reasonable price, it could be much worse. The total capacity is marketed accurately, so no short selling there, and the company are evidently receptive to feedback and advice. One note on the website, they are marketing to the Anglosphere, and as a native English speaker I noticed plenty of examples of strange wording and even typos. It would take barely an hour for someone with a better grasp of English to scan through the graphics and website text to professionalise and exhibit attention to detail. The user manual is better though and is clear, which is far from common with companies of this type. On that note of semi-positivity, I want to redirect the attention of those in my audience interested in the cold to another of their ranges. Battery chemistry conversation has gone mainstream, especially in the context of electric cars, and most people know that battery technology is currently a bottleneck to development. Energy density is one issue, recycling is one more, safety and longevity another, but performance in the cold gets my attention. Almost all batteries can be damaged by charging them below freezing point, and that is due to the liquids inside, even modern lithium batteries. Discharging in the cold is fine, it's the charging that's the problem. So, of course, I noticed that GoKWh have some so-called sodium-ion batteries for sale. These are still quite rare in the consumer market, but more are appearing. I won't go into detail now, but you get a little bit less density, so a little heavier and larger than lithium, but nowhere near as bad as lead batteries, of course, and you still get lots of cycles and high current performance. Also, the discharge curve isn't flat. The usable range is 6 to 16 volts, which is huge, not the 12.5 to 13.5 that you get from lithium iron phosphate. This will mean devices running off it will need to flexibly match this range, or risk under or over voltage issues. But critically and oddly, given the cold symbol marketing that they use, yet the user manual not claiming sub-0 degree charging, most sources do say that you can charge sodium-ion batteries down to minus 10 degrees Celsius or colder, but not at the fastest charge currents. I'm going to ask for one to test, and we'll report back. So, people of the channel, back to that all-important set of discount codes. I've actually got two for you. If you're interested in this particular 24-volt model, then you can click the link in the description and it will send you through to the website where you can directly buy with a discount. There will also be another link and you can then go and buy all the other types of batteries on the website, not just the one that I've tested in this. I hope that's helpful, and I hope that this has given you a sense of what is good and what might be not quite so good, but of course no battery is perfect, are they? Right, that's enough from me. Another video soon. Bye.